Danny Fisher, back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. And as always, I'm joined by Babby. We have a fun and exciting episode of the Boy Time Podcast planned. As always, this is week 5 of Elvis Marathon. Let me just rack my brain. I think it's week 4. Because that would make sense to me. And this is a pivotal week in the Elvis Marathon because this is the end of an era officially. Because this is the last Elvis movie that we're going to be watching before he is drafted and sent to France, Germany, somewhere in Europe to join a tank division. Originally, when he was drafted, the United States government said, oh, maybe we shouldn't have Elvis, this like super big megastar who's like one of the biggest taxpayers in the country. Maybe we shouldn't send him to like a super dangerous area in like an actual active war zone. Hey, Colonel Parker, why don't you just have him do a bunch of shows like the USO girls in Vietnam or something? That equivalent, but for post-World War II Europe. Why don't you just do that? All we ask is that all the proceeds of the show will go to funding the United States military instead of going to your pocket. And Colonel Parker said no. So Elvis was sent to war in a tank division. And by war, I mean relatively peaceful time in France where he just kind of chilled and hung around and started dating a 14-year-old. So when in France, might as well.
Bind to the tradition.
Yes. So this is right before that. This is the last movie before he is sent to war. And it's a very fitting one because it is probably his best. I think widely regarded as his best movie, not his most popular, because I think his most popular would either be like Blue Hawaii or Viva Las Vegas or even Jailhouse Rock. Nobody talks about King Creole, which is a shame because they absolutely should. And this movie is actually fantastic. I'm not going to mince words and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This movie is very, very, very good. I rated it 4.5 stars and I did not expect to do that with an Elvis movie. I mean, I guess Jailhouse Rock, I rated 4 stars, but yeah, both of those are way higher than I was thinking. I thought maybe this whole marathon would top out at a 3. I didn't think I would actually be watching some good movies. So, what about this King Creole movie is great? Well, it's set in an interesting location. It's set in New Orleans, Louisiana, and it is very New Orleans. The first song is actually a cappella. Elvis doesn't really sing in it until the very end. The song is basically a bunch of like street side vendors that sell regional foods. Like, well, one of the guys sells berries, which I guess isn't necessarily regional, but he sells berries. One lady is selling turtles, so you can have turtle stew or something. And one guy is selling crawdads and gumbo. No, the guy's selling gumbo, and there's another lady who's selling crawdads. So right off the bat, we're in Louisiana, and we're going to be getting a bunch of, I guess, soul food representation, which isn't necessarily there because that's not what this movie's about. But it does do a really great job of setting the scene and kind of creating the atmosphere. Because this isn't like, I don't know if there is a nice part of New Orleans. I've never been, but this is the like dirty underbelly of New Orleans. Elvis plays this like down and out like high school senior who basically like I think he's been like repeating his senior year because there's this one teacher at his school that always flunks him out because he's too rowdy and too hot and too cool for school. Literally, because he has to work for his family because his mom died, which sent his dad into a deep spiral depression. And so he has to like balance this life of school and work, and those two often get in the way of each other. So basically, he's screwed. And this one teacher that he has is not very, accommodating, not very understanding of his situation. So she just keeps on flunking him, leading him to eventually quit school. And uh, basically, it's kind of like Jailhouse Rock, where that movie is all about, well, Elvis accidentally kills a guy, and then in jail he learns how to be a musician from Hugh Hofton or whatever that guy's name was. And then once he gets out, he's a big star. But it's kind of the same premise where he's kind of this like street hustler who is like naturally gifted at singing, and he actually joins in on that a cappella song. He sings the Crawdaddy song with the Crawdaddy lady, which is a really nice medley uh, because her voice is very different from Elvis's in a way that I think creates some interesting contrast sonically. And that's about as far as I'll go in talking about serious music criticism uh, because I don't know very much, but it is a very nice song. And it does set up that he's very good at singing and that he is known throughout town as being a good singer. People call him Songbird because he often joins in on these like street market folks who I guess sing to get people's attention. Um, but what that does is that it sets a really nice atmosphere, and it like contextualizes his singing and that it doesn't feel out of place. This is a world where music is everywhere, where even like, barkers or, you go to like a big tourist town and then you get like swarmed by people trying to sell you necklaces or whatever. The alternative of that in this version of New Orleans is that they just sing you a very nice song, which honestly, I think that would be more effective. I would be way more willing to buy a puka shell necklace in Acapulco if they were singing a lovely song. So maybe if you are living in a tourist town and you're listening to this podcast, maybe take some notes. Maybe watch King Creole and see if your business increases. It's worth a shot. That's all I'll say. So New Orleans is a musical town. Everybody's singing. But among those singers, Elvis is regarded as a very nice singer, which makes sense because he has a very nice voice. He basically wouldn't have been in these movies if he didn't. So there's that. So it makes sense. This isn't what is it? Why can't Love Me Tender, where it's just like it's this Southern Confederate propaganda, and then they shoehorn in Elvis songs that feel very out of place. The songs in this movie don't, because everyone is singing all the time, and it's awesome. There's this really nice atmosphere of like community and stuff, despite like that professor kind of not understanding him. It seems like that the culture surrounding Elvis in this moment does kind of rally around him, so that when he does eventually become a musical artist that performs in like essentially these things don't really exist anymore, but they're like the old like cabaret bars where like there's ladies that are doing like seductive dances, and then like Elvis comes in and does a song, and then like some random dude plays a piano. It's like this old timey thing that doesn't really exist anymore. But these types of things make sense in this world. This is like the best script I think out of all of the Elvis movies so far, because it really works to like make a world that feels lived in. Like And I think why I'm harping on this opening scene is because I think it's so G dang effective of like of setting this world and this culture that allows Elvis to thrive. Because once he does eventually drop out of school, and uh, he eventually like I think he like sings to one of the uh, like the antagonist is played by Walter Matthau, which he's great. This is like the only time where like Elvis is acting opposite like an actual movie star. And Walter Matthau is great. I will say this is probably not his best performance, just in general. I don't really think of Walter Matthau as the heavy, as like this mobster guy who like owns the slums of New Orleans. I think of him as the grumpy neighbor in Dennis the Menace. But with what he's given, I think he does a good job. Um, but yeah, because this whole thing gets started. Elvis is basically a busboy at this guy's bar, and this guy's girlfriend comes in with a bunch of drunk underlings of this guy, and they're getting handsy. And that lady's like, "Hey, sing us a song. Come on, distract him. Get him off my back." And so Elvis, this is a weird thing too. She's like, "Get him off my back. Sing your high school's song, like a school spirit song." And I don't know why anyone would ask for that ever. Like, I think that's only acceptable at like a football game or something. And even then, I would much rather the marching band play a cover of Bad and Bougie or something and not the high school spirit song. Because I have no spirit. I have no pride in any school I have ever been in. It is just a place. So I don't understand that. But I guess Elvis is full of school spirit despite being flogged twice. So he sings his high school song and it moves the mobsters so much that they lay off the lady and Elvis and the lady get to escape. Um, and so like eventually once Elvis comes back to the bar for work, Walter Matthau hears that, "Oh, well, Elvis sang to my girlfriend and she said that he was a very nice singer. Why don't you sing on stage, boy? Come on, show us what you're made of." And so Elvis gets on stage and he sings. It's I love this song. It's a really, really great song. It's a great song in the same way that Jailhouse Rock is a great song and a great moment because you can tell that Elvis is having fun and they kind of like let go of the reins. He was just like, his charisma is just oozing out of the screen with this performance. And it's a song where he's poking fun at Walter Matthau. I think the song is just called Evil. And it's like over the top, like Elvis is a bad boy and he's basically poking fun at Walter Matthau, which makes him a little upset, but it's funny, and everyone in the bar laughs. And so, basically, because of that, Elvis gets a contract with Walter Matthau's competitor, and he starts doing shows over there. But we're getting too much into weeds. Don't need to go too much into detail here. Basically, the broad strokes is Elvis gets this contract with this guy's competitor. And then over the course of the movie, Walter Matthau, he tries convincing Elvis at first, "Hey, why don't you drop that chump and get with a hero? I can make you a star, baby." And Elvis says, "I'm not gonna take that. Uh-uh. I have morals and stuff." I guess. Even though in less than a year he would be dating a teenager. But that's fine. It doesn't affect this film. His character is one of morals, I guess. And so basically, it was like push comes to shove. Walter Matthau starts doing dirty tricks, starts, using his influence and blackmail. He's an evil guy. And so the crux of the story is that Elvis is trying to stay true to himself and true to his word to Walter Matthau's competitor while trying to balance his feelings for Walter Matthau's girlfriend. Also, there's this whole side plot where Elvis helps rob a store and one of the store clerks, um, I guess, like notices that he's stealing because he basically goes in and sings a song and is like distracting everybody because I guess that's just something that would happen. I can't imagine being in a grocery store and then like some dude comes in with a guitar and being
Called
like,
bard activities.
it is kind of bard activities. I would actually like to see that. If I was grocery shopping and there was someone there that would just started playing guitar, I guess I would watch and I would follow the source of the song to find out what happened or what is happening. So maybe this is a good plan because Elvis is distracting everybody. Meanwhile, all of his cronies are stealing stuff. And it's actually a really fun scene because it's a good song and it's kind of fun to see these shenanigans get pulled off. But after that, the I think she's like a candy clerk. There's like a counter and there's like sodas and I don't know. Convenience stores in the old days were weird. I guess it's like maybe the soda fountain. I've heard that word before. That is way before my time, but that might be what it is. So she's the soda fountain lady. Her name is Nellie, but that might get confusing because, you know, you might be thinking, what is it, too hot in here or something? So I'm going to call her Lady, which she is Lady. And I guess Walter Matthau's girlfriend will be Walter Matthau's girlfriend. I don't remember what her name is. It's probably not a 90s R&B star. Or 2000s? Nelly is more 2000s, right?
Early 2000s, I
Early
think. Yeah.
2000s? Okay.
He had two Nellies.
Yeah, there's two Nellies. Well, I know Nelly Furtado.
Yeah.
That's a different Nelly, but
Mm-hmm.
still active around the same time, right?
And both pretty popular, I think. So
Both popular
I
and
guess
like,
Nelly was just the thing.
I guess so. Is Nelly Furtado spelled the same way?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it
okay.
is.
Yes, it is. Interesting. When I searched Nelly, the third, so it goes Nelly Furtado, and then Kanye West for some reason. Uh, does Nelly have a song with Kanye or something?
I don't know. I felt like the prime Nelly was like right before Kanye kind of made it big, but maybe
Yeah.
not. I guess it would be around 2004. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at like Nelly's, it's definitely like 2000, 2002, 2004
Yeah,
are his big albums. Okay.
they
And
might have
maybe,
crossed paths. Kanye was kind of like pigeonholed as like produce all of the records. Thank you.
nah.
So
Yeah, maybe he did produce some stuff for Nelly. Speaking, okay, Nelly is ranked on Spotify. Is that crazy to you?
no,
Okay, I didn't know people were still listening to Nelly.
it makes sense. There's a lot of millennials out there that are still probably like heavy on it. So
I guess so. Wow. Well, good for Nelly. He did just drop an album in 2022 called Still Hot in Here. So I'm sure that's great. um, well, Elvis doesn't sing any of those songs, unfortunately. That would have been cool. Um, but yeah, I almost don't even want to go into like what happens in the end and like the drama and stuff because I think it's actually a good movie and it's worth watching. Um, so I think I've done enough to sell it, and now I just need to let loose the audience. Go watch this movie, King Creole. I think out of all of the ones that I've seen so far, this is the one to watch. It feels the most like an actual movie, and it feels like the perfect Elvis movie. This is before like the formula set in. This is like an actually great movie. And I think part of it is because Elvis isn't like perfect. They kind of let his image be flawed in a way where he isn't like, he's a good singer, but like he's also kind of a scuzzball where he's like hustling and like willing to double cross people in order to get what he wants. I don't know. I think it's really interesting and kind of unique because everything else I've seen him in, he could do no wrong, and he's basically a perfect little boy to kind of reinforce that image that they were trying to sculpt for him. So, yeah, I think it's very special. Watch King Creole. And also a side note, this is, I guess, I kind of cross plug. Another movie I want to plug, and I want to plug it on this podcast too, because we just recorded our Love the Mom episode on Oh God, which is a movie starring John Denver. Interestingly enough, because we just talked about him not too long ago. Which, by the way, he does great in this movie. Like, actually, really good acting from John Denver. I want more people to watch Oh God. And if you want to know my thoughts on it, go watch that movie or that podcast. Also, watch the movie. But I want to see if more young people my age that don't necessarily subscribe to any spiritual beliefs still watch Oh God and like it as much as I did, because I loved that movie. Very, very good. Just net positive on the world, and I like that. So, side plug, check that out. Don't even listen to the podcast. Just watch the movie. That's what I'm plugging. I'm plugging Oh God. I want more people to watch it. So, check it out now. But before you watch it, maybe get it rented or whatever. I don't remember how I watched it. I don't think it's on anything. But maybe rent it, and then in that like week that you have before you start it, and then that starts the countdown. Finish this podcast because I watched, or I guess maybe I should set the scene a little bit. Because the other two movies I'm going to be talking about don't really have anything to do with King Creole, but they were part of a Olivia Newton-John double feature that I had because my mother and my aunt were in town this week, and instead of going to see the sights in the Twin Cities, they didn't want to see the Big Cherry and the Spoon. They didn't want to go to the mall. They didn't want to go to the Frederick Miller Spring, which is, of course, a huge landmark here in the Twin Cities. They said, wouldn't it be fun if we watched... well, originally the plan was we were going to watch 3 Olivia Newton-John movies, those being Two of a Kind, Grease, and Xanadu. But I got too sleepy after Grease, so we nixed Xanadu. So I'm going to be talking about Two of a Kind and Grease. I guess we'll start with Grease. That was the second movie that we watched, but I think if we're going to have this podcast be on a scale, I loved King Creole. I felt okay about Grease, and I hated Two of a Kind. If King Creole is like the best script of an Elvis movie I've ever seen, Two of a Kind is legitimately one of the worst scripts I've ever seen executed on in my life. Literally every single decision that whoever wrote that made is wrong. I don't know how else to explain it. I guess we'll get there when we get there. But Grease, most people have probably seen, or at least heard songs from. I had never seen it. At least I don't think I have. Until this last weekend, I had heard the song Grease Lightning and Bop Bop Zidoo or song, whatever that song's called, at the end of that movie where they ride the car into the sun and then they burn up and die or whatever that fun little theory says. But the thing about Grease, and this is something that I've touched on when I talked about A Christmas Story, but there was this, it's this thing that I've noticed where there's like a 20-year thing where people right now are starting to make movies nostalgic for the late 90s, early 2000s. And people in the 70s and early 80s were making movies about how great the 50s were. And honestly, I can kind of get the 90s and 2000s thing, um, because it was super radical. And I also miss computers that were translucent. So I guess there was bad stuff going on in the 90s or 2000s, but I can't imagine looking at the 50s and being like, man, we should go back to those times.
Post
Because,
war prosperity.
I guess, but like, I don't know. And maybe this is looking at it through modern eyes, but I can't imagine having nostalgic glasses on for when segregation was institutionalized. Um, I can't imagine like living in that world and being like, this is cool, and I miss when this was around. I mean, the movies like Christmas Story doesn't like explicitly say like it's great that all the schools are segregated, but also Ralphie's school doesn't have any black people in it, and that's not really touched on. But it's a detail that I noticed when I watched the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess they're being historically accurate, but it feels kind of fucked up to like just like, oh man, remember school? It was awesome. There was no black people anywhere. That's kind of like the subtext I get from it. And I'm not gonna say that Grease completely falls into that because it's a goofy musical. Uh, Not that A Christmas Story is like a serious film either, but that one is like so overly nostalgic, rose-colored glasses over the 50s. Like that's the whole point of that movie, is being like, remember the 50s, how magical it was. I don't think Grease is totally that. There's definitely some with like, oh man, remember how awesome it was to be a greaser and have wear your leather jackets and gel your hair and the switchblade combs and the hot rods, big bright neon colored cars, convertibles, jukebox diner. Remember that? That was awesome. So it does lean into that a little bit. But it's just like the aesthetics of the 50s. It's not necessarily the I love the 50s everything about it. If that makes sense. I don't know if what I'm saying exactly makes sense. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't have that little seed of contempt for Grease that I do for A Christmas Story. That being said, I don't really like Grease. And I also, if you're new to this podcast, I don't hate musicals. I actually like a musical when it's done well. Examples that I often point to for great musicals are obviously La La Land and Little Shop of Horrors and Singing in the Rain. Singing in the Rain is awesome. And I know there's probably something problematic about that movie, but I don't care. It's like the best dancing I've ever seen captured on screen, and the Technicolor makes it look awesome. So I just wanted to establish my pedigree a little bit. I'm not someone that just hates on musicals because there's music in it, or the plot stops for a music number to happen. I mean, I guess I am watching Elvis movies, and that happens in every single one of those too. So yeah, I don't hate musicals. I like a fair bit of them. I don't like Grease. Uh, there's a lot of caveats before we even start talking about this movie. I also need to say that I'm not a prude. I'm sure that you can attest to that.
Yeah.
Especially last night, we were playing a game that had text to speech, and I kept coming up with fun words for tits, bazimba chumbas or whatever, and just having the little robot guy say it was awesome. So I'm not a prude. I'm not against having sex in movies. I'm not even against like sex being the central theme of a movie. Doctor Strangelove is one that is pretty much all about sex. Um, but I guess it's kind of like under the surface. It's a little more subtle. It isn't like all the characters are constantly talking about sex. In Greece, all of the characters are constantly talking about sex, either subliminally or overtly. Um, like all of the songs in the movie are about like, man, tell me how that sex was last night. I sure would like to have sex with a lady tonight. Oh, I need to get a big car so that a lady will suck my knob. And it's just like, that's the entire musical.
It's funny
And
because I watched it as a kid like multiple times, and that was never like, oh, what is this?
I know. Well, yeah, because I talked to my mom and my aunt. The whole reason they brought that up is that like that is one of their favorite movies from childhood.
Hmm.
And once they like watched it when they were older, they realized that that's what it was about. But as someone who's watching it now for the first time in their early 20s, I'm like, this is gross. Like, I don't know. I also find it weird, and this also might be a cultural thing, when like friend groups are like, "Oh, did you have sex last night? Give me details." I've never in my life had
I
anyone
think
ask me.
our group in general is like an outlier in that, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
because every other group of people I've hung up with is pretty much that, and it's like I don't
Really?
understand. A lot of them, yeah.
Nobody has ever asked me details on my sex
The
life.
kids I grew up with, yeah,
Oh. Well, you grew up with Hicks.
mostly yes, for for lack of a better
I don't know what is the respectable way to say it. Country boys?
term. Low income white people.
Oh, I guess that's the I guess that's the actual nice way to say it. Well, that's not even nice. It's calling them low
No,
income.
it's. I mean, well, I don't necessarily think that as an insult, but
No, no, it's not. But it is like, I don't know, categorizing people in terms of
yeah,
class. Who cares? Um, what I'm trying to say is that Greece is so gross, and the entire time is about sex, and all of like everything is like an allegory for sex, um, constantly, uh, to the point where I'm like, can we just change the subject? I don't even mind that it's about sex. Like, I think that's what it comes down to is that it isn't like, ew, get this sex off of my screen. It's like, can we please talk about something else? Because it has been nothing but sex for an hour, and I'm just dying for something new to happen. And I'm also not saying there's a lot of caveats here. I'm also not saying that the sex bothered me because I was watching it with like family members because that uh, I don't necessarily feel that. Uh, I know that like some people say that it feels awkward watching stuff with family members with sex in it. It's never really bothered me necessarily. Um, but I don't know. I don't know why. I guess my brain is broken. Because like if a sex scene comes up in a movie and I'm watching it like with my mom and she'll be like, "That was so awkward." Like they're fake. They aren't actually having sex. It isn't like we're watching porno. It's just two people that are pretending to have sex. And I think like that layer of separation is it kind of applies. So I don't know. Um, so I guess with all that out of the way, now we can talk about Grease. Grease is a movie about star-crossed lovers. One of them is named Sandy, and one of them is named John Travolta. John Travolta is a guy in a leather jacket who likes cars, who's in a gang, who likes to beat people up. He's a big tough guy with a soft heart on the inside. He's very much like Troy Bolton from the hit film High School Musical, where on the surface, he's a big rough and tumble guy, but on the inside, he's a lovable softie who wants to sing. And in a lot of ways, Grease is a lot like that, except
it's funny because he looks absolutely harmless.
John Travolta or Zac Efron.
No, Zac Efron.
Yeah, Zac Efron does look harmless, especially in that movie. Maybe not now,
Yeah,
because he's like a huge muscle monster now.
true.
Uh, yeah, but when he was a kid, he was like a twink. So, but I guess he was a big sports guy. Uh, uh, John Travolta is not a sports guy. I don't know if he is in real life, but he's not in the movie. I thought it was a weird choice to have his character also be named John Travolta, but um, it's whatever, I guess. It was the 70s. They were probably too busy smoking reefer to pay attention. Or yeah, I guess that was the issue. John Travolta was smoking too much, and he couldn't. He didn't respond to any other name except for his own, which is which is nice. I always like that. It's always a good sign when an actor is playing a role and they have to like have the name be the same name as the actor so that the actor will respond to it. That's the sign of someone that's truly talented. And John Travolta stands above the crowd because he did that in this movie, Grease, in 1978 or whatever. But yeah, he's a rough and tumble guy. He's in a gang, and he falls in love with Sandy in a scene that we don't see. We see the like last moments where they meet on a beach in summer camp, summertime. I don't know the context of where they are or how they met. We just know that they're on a beach, and for some reason, John Travolta is away from his gang because as we see when he's with his gang, he's a hedonist monster. He's just loves catching tail and slinging crack. Probably that's probably the um that's a subliminal message, I guess. He's secretly a crack dealer, but they don't actually show that in the movie. Or I guess was crack even a thing in the 50s? I don't know if that was
No,
even invented. He's
no.
slinging coke. That was a
Americans
thing.
didn't know that Nicaragua was on a map yet. So
That's a good point. What this is
by
going
Americans, I mean the CIA. I
this
guess they
is
just didn't know.
this is going to sound stupid, but was Nicaragua a country in the 50s? Or was it one of those
I
that
believe it
like
was.
okay,
I don't know if it was called Nicaragua, but
yeah. It was a place.
I feel
I
like a
don't
lot
know
of
if it had
those
the same
countries
names.
were, yeah, I feel like they've been around for a while.
Yeah.
Whether if they're colonial counterparts or actual countries, not sure, but
True. So before crack, I guess John Travolta is slinging acid or
yeah,
weed. It's probably weed.
like yeah, I
Weed.
don't know what would you be selling in the 50s?
I think it's just weed. Weed has been forever around for so long.
It's true, yeah,
Like I
but we didn't go
didn't
to
re-
Vietnam yet.
True.
Hmm.
Here's the thing. I didn't realize this, and this is a bit of a tangent, but I watched a video on like how long drugs have been around, which I guess is
Hmm.
maybe not a great sign that I didn't remember how old crack was a second ago. But like people have been using cannabis for at least like 4,000 years.
Hmm.
And like it had been around and established to the point where like the first like Islamic empire was like the first one to outlaw it. Like it had been around for so long that there was already a stigma around it by the time that like Muhammad was around. And for me, that seems absolutely nuts. Like think of weed as being like somewhat contemporary, like
Nah,
not like that like people haven't been using it, but like white people hadn't been using it, I guess. Like
well,
oh,
yeah,
that's what I like. I think oh yeah, I'm sure like native people here in America probably because it grows down in Central and South America
ayahuasca.
and ayahuasca. And I'm sure that it was used, but I just didn't know that it was that widespread.
I feel like
So
most American drugs are just like, what country did we go to war with, and what country did we invade, and what country did either our soldiers get hooked on this thing, or we have a financial incentive to do this.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what John Travolta is slinging in Greece. Maybe it is cannabis. Maybe it's nicotine. Maybe
Tylenol,
he's slinging
high-powered
Zins.
Benadryl. Ooh, Zins, that's a good one.
Yeah, he's probably slinging Zins to underage people
Yeah.
because he's clearly 35 in this movie.
Absolutely.
I think this is probably the movie that cemented that like cliche of like old people playing high schoolers. There's like dudes with like 5 o'clock shadows that are trying to pass as like seniors. And I know that like there are some high school seniors that can grow beards, but like, you know what I mean? Probably not. But do I even need to talk about the story of Greece? I don't know if
Who doesn't know the story of Greece?
eh, 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 they
Unless
fall in
you're 2 years
love.
old.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if there's any 2-year-olds watching,
Don't.
or people under like the age of 15, because I don't
Yeah, I
think this
guess.
is a movie that's like really stuck around.
This
I'm,
movie was purely passed down from parents to children, but now we're
yeah.
past that stage.
Now, in the age of like millennials raising
Yeah.
kids, I feel like it
You're
probably
getting Harry
skipped.
Potter. You're not getting Grease.
Yes, yes. Very, very true. People are like, watch Jurassic Park or something. Now it's like 20 years, I guess, ahead. So,
Watch Avatar: The Last Airbender.
well, that's a good choice.
It is, yes.
Although you would have to,
Insufferable as a parent.
yeah, you would have to explain to your kids why the first season is in 4:3,
Yeah, exactly.
which I guess is a fun conversation to
Like,
have.
watch SpongeBob, but like the first 6 seasons are 4:3.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I don't know what Zoomers are doing, how Zoomers are doing as parents. I have to imagine it's great.
I don't know any Zoomer parents, so I know
Uh,
a lot of millennial parents though.
yeah.
It's just as terrifying.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, I think they're doing great, but it's like,
It's a scary
it's
concept, I
weird. It's
guess.
weird to think of.
I guess that's true. We're getting old. We're so
We are.
old
It's
and
strange.
decrepit.
So old. Well, on the internet, we're like 50 now, so
That's true. I don't even know what a skibbity is.
it is a weird phenomena though. Like you'll go on like Instagram or Twitter, and I'll genuinely feel old.
Yeah.
Like, man, I got a couple years before I cut all this out of my life completely.
I don't really go online. I just watch YouTube documentaries. Not even that. I don't know what I am anymore.
I don't know. We're in an in between.
Yeah, it's weird. Sorry, Grease fans. This is taking a minute. It's weird that like on the internet you feel decrepit, but then when you go
Mhm.
actually outside, you don't know anything,
Yeah, I go to my job and I'm like the youngest one. I'm
and
like, what's
everyone
that all about?
and everyone talks to you like you don't know anything,
Uh huh.
but you actually probably don't know anything. It's this weird thing where you're not accepted by anybody,
It
ex-
is. It's strange.
except for our specific age group.
Yeah. There's this weird thing in corporate settings too, where like you just don't tell people how old you are. So then when I tell people how old I am, they're like, what?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I get that a lot too, but I'm also bald. So
Oh,
people are like,
yeah.
"Oh, you're 30." No, not quite.
You wish.
Whoa. That took a turn. I'm too young for you, pal. Which is what I call ladies. Um,
Pal.
pal.
Chum.
I call everybody pal. And I don't know if that's a bad
Gender
thing.
neutral term. We're Midwestern. I feel like we can get away with it.
We can get away with it. I'm
Yeah.
always worried that someone's gonna take it the wrong way. Like I'm trying.
Buddy.
Yeah, like that. It's like, hey, get your own, pal. I'm walking here, pal.
I'm
Want to fight with
walking here.
me? It's like I'm trying to pick a fight with someone when I'm just saying
Just use a tone indicator.
you can't do that in real life. I
Just
wish you
say
could.
slash serious after.
Yeah, that's gonna confuse all the 40-year-olds.
Sorry, I never knew how to express emotions.
All of my socialization with human beings was done online, so I have no idea how
Tumblr.
and Tumblr. So I have no idea how to emote.
That's the emote button.
What's the emote button? I'm gonna bring around a keyboard and try pressing all the buttons and see if I can fix my
Yeah.
social life. I did unironically say cool beans. And by did, I mean
Oh yeah,
do. I do still
yeah,
say
it's
cool beans. It's
sick.
pretty good. It's a good word.
Hmm.
But it does make me feel uncool.
We are going to become the millennials where like people are just going to roll their eyes at us because I kind of do that with everything millennials do now because they're just like 40-year-old Harry Potter fans that say like uppies and like
Ugh,
doggo.
no. Get that out of here.
That's going to be us in like 5 years.
I I think like yes, in a wider sense that will be us. I have such a weird way of talking. I don't think
Yeah,
I don't really use Zoomer slang.
that's true.
I don't know why I'm broken like that. Maybe that's something to bring up to my psychotherapist.
Yeah. This is just going to turn into a therapy podcast.
Yeah, this was supposed to be talking about Greece. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Well, everybody knows Greece, so
Yeah,
unless you're aforementioned 15-year
if
old,
you're a
but
15-year-old. Yeah, in which case I don't think you're gonna get anything out of it.
no, yeah.
Because it leans so it leans a lot on like the aesthetics of the 50s, and I'm like vaguely aware of that. But like the aesthetics that have like stuck around. It isn't like Christmas Story where there's like specific things about the 50s where you kind of have to live it to know what they're talking about. But like everyone is aware of the concept of a diner and like a five and dime and like leather jackets with the slick back hair. Like West Side Story was just remade a couple years ago, so like I think people are kind of aware of that. Young people are kind of aware of that. I don't know. I'm not a sociologist. Um, I should have been. I regret that decision. I should have been a sociologist or a writer. Instead, I did nothing. So
Well, you
uh,
write for the podcast.
I don't. I don't.
Notes.
Oh well, yeah, I guess, but that's not that kind of writing. um, yeah. Um, that's a good discussion of Greece. I think
Yeah.
that's all I have to say about that. It's fine. Musical numbers range from being good to kind of bad. And John Travolta is a weird Scientologist, and I don't understand why he was popular. He's not a very good actor in general. I think the one role I kind of like him in is Pulp Fiction, but that's only because they cast him as an unlikable asshole because John Travolta is an unlikable asshole. So, kind of works. Plus, they barely give him anything to do. He's
That's true. He
he
just looks cool.
yeah, he's just there. He does the twist, and then he just kind of like asks questions to the more interesting characters. So, yeah, when he gets got by Bruce Willis, I don't really feel a thing. Um, I wish that that treatment was also done to Bruce Willis in that movie, though, or
Yeah.
that that whole plot is just cut. It was very not needed. But Pulp Fiction is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's honestly a masterpiece. I wouldn't change a thing about it. Sorry, I just had to reestablish my credibility with the
Of
film
course.
bros. Yeah, that's Grease. Okay, let's talk about Two of a Kind. It's a more interesting movie to talk about because of how how completely it falls on its face. But it is interesting because Grease is obviously John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. Two of a Kind came out like 2 or 3 years later. It is Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta again. They redid it. They teamed up again to make a big box office smash. And by that, I mean it absolutely flopped, and nobody talks about this movie for a very, very good reason. The movie starts with uh, an angel played by Scatman Crothers, uh, who is maybe one of my favorite people. Uh, I don't know if that's true, but he has this charisma on screen. I've only seen him in one other thing, and he's in The Shining. So very different, very different movies. Uh, Two of a Kind, I gave 1 star, and The Shining, I think, is a masterpiece. It's 5 stars. It's one of the best horror movies ever made. Scatman Crothers is my favorite character in The Shining because he's the one that like tells Danny, he's like, "Hey Danny, you got this thing called The Shining where you can see dead people. I got it too, and we can talk telepathically to each other." And then once start shit starts hitting the fan, Danny's like, "Scatman Crothers, save me, Scatman Crothers." And so then, like, for half an hour, we see Scatman Crothers dig his way through the snow, try to get all the way to the hotel to save the family, and immediately get an axe to the stomach and die. It's the best. I love that. Sorry for just the random Shining spoiler, but it's his most memorable role. You gotta know that Scatman Crothers is in The Shining. But Scatman Crothers is an angel this time, I guess, or he's like a an archangel. He's like God's right hand man. And when I say Scatman Crothers, please keep in mind that Scatman Crothers is not alone. It's him and three other people, but the other three people don't matter at all. They do matter in like the plot of the movie, like they do things, but I don't care. I'm just going to refer to this group of angels as Scatman Crothers. So, uh, whatever. Scatman Crothers is watching Earth and he's like, "Man, this shit is fucked up. Everything is terrible. It's the early 80s and crime is on the rise, according to Reagan. And I'm scared because a crack addict lives on Earth and I'm very scared." And so God rolls up, God, who is a disembodied voice, who is played by Gene Hackman. He's in the news. I guess maybe that won't age well. But as of right now, we don't really know how Gene Hackman died. It's mysterious circumstances. His daughter and wife also croaked, and nobody really
Yeah, that
knows what
was
happened.
strange.
So that was kind of weird. Because I saw that he was cast as God, so I just like searched Gene Hackman. I'm like, that name sounds familiar. And then I saw like I recently searched it. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. So God is played by Gene Hackman, who died under mysterious circumstances. And he tells Scatman Crothers, "I'm done. I I remember that flood I did a long time ago where I killed everybody except for like two people. I think I want to do that again. I'm so tired. I have no hope left in my heart. I think that the best course of action is just to kill every single person. I'm not even going to have an arc. I think I just want to kill everybody because I'm just so tired." And to me, that is a perfect adaptation of what God should be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm being sarcastic. If you're going to have God be represented in your movie, it's like have him be something that us humans should aspire to, have him be a beacon of hope. I'm not someone that believes in God, but I know basic storytelling and character writing, and that's how you portray a deity. So that's their first mistake. Mistake number one is that the crux of the movie is that God is going to flood the entire earth and kill everybody because he's a little sleepy and he's just so tired and he doesn't want to help. He's just he's had a long day. I guess you could say it's been a long day. So I guess it's understandable. But Scatman Crothers says to God, "Hey, don't do that. Don't kill everybody. There's still good people. Look at this guy. His name is John Travolta. He's walking into the Church of Scientology right now. He's about to make a great decision." He doesn't actually say that. And the Church of Scientology, I don't even well, it was a thing. I don't know if John Travolta was a Scientologist at this point. I don't When did Battlefield Earth come out? The 90s? Whatever.
Yesterday.
No. No, I don't think so. I wish it did. That would have been a great movie to see in the theaters. Because I love John Travolta and Tom Cruise and other Scientologists. Probably my favorite religion, aside from Zoroastrianism.
Right.
I'm still waiting for someone to hit me up at boytimebusiness@gmail.com who is an active practicing Zoroastrian, because I have a question for them. Mainly being,
That's one.
yeah, just one. Just being like, what is it? That's my that's my question.
Um, can you can you let me know what is
What
it?
is it? I don't know. I've never met one of you before, and I would like to know what is it. So, uh, yeah, that's my little sidebar. So Scatman Crothers says, "Look at John Travolta. He's not such a bad guy." And then John Travolta robs a bank, and God said, "See, you stupid idiot, Scatman Crothers, you picked the wrong guy. You picked a random guy, and that's still the wrong choice. You should have known this, Scatman Crothers, you dumb idiot. I'm going to flood the earth." Scatman Crothers says, "No, don't do it. Give us a week," which is, great screenwriting. You got to have a ticking clock element. "Give us a week to make John Travolta a good guy. Not only that, he is going to have a selfless sacrifice for someone else," which is oddly specific, but as you can clearly see, they're setting something up. So it's very good screenwriting. I actually am a big fan of that. And so God says, "Okay, fine, but I have one caveat." I guess this is Old Testament God, where he just like hates everybody and wants everyone to die all the time. And he's like, fine, I guess. If you can get John Travolta to do an ultimate sacrifice for the bank teller that he's robbing the bank from, for, he's robbing the bank, and the bank teller that he's robbing, he has to sacrifice ultimately for her. Scatman Crothers says, "No way, Jose. That's never going to happen. That's just impossible." God says, "Make it possible. I'm God." And so they do. They do. They are like, "Hey, let's get these two together. Let's get these two lovebirds to make a connection." Not off to a great start, as you can imagine. John Travolta just robbed the bank and held Olivia Newton-John at gunpoint. Uh, so it might be hard to imagine, falling in love with someone when your first impression is that of being a victim of assault. But you know, there's been tougher relationship starters, I guess. So they try, and so they're like, "Hey, it would be funny if John Travolta got together with Olivia Newton-John." And so Olivia Newton-John goes home, and she pulled a double cross. She filled John Travolta's bag with Monopoly money. Don't ask me why they have that in a bank, but she filled John Travolta's bag with Monopoly money, and then took the money that she told John Travolta and her boss that he took, and she took that money and put it in her own bag. So she robbed the bank. John Travolta didn't rob the bank. Well, he did, but he didn't actually do that. It's very confusing, and ultimately it doesn't matter. What does matter is that Olivia Newton-John goes home to her stinky one-bedroom apartment where her roommates, I think, her roommate is a lady who kind of looks like the Counselor Troy from the Star Trek New Generation or whatever. Um, and she has a boyfriend, and her boyfriend is honestly her boyfriend could have been plucked out of Greece, because he's just always wanting to bone this lady. He's like, why don't we go down to the beach and maybe we can take you down to a little private part and just like fuck your brains out. That's what I want to do, lady. Come on, let's stop hanging around with this mopey lady who was just robbed. I want to bone. And so then they do. And Olivia Newton-John is like, "Please don't leave. I'm worried that that robber guy is going to come back for me because he knows my face and I just stole a bunch of money, I guess from him, but also from the bank." I'm a wanted fugitive and I need your help because I'm worried that this guy is going to break into our apartment while you're gone and he's going to do unspeakable things to me. And the guy says, "You'll be fine. Whatever." And he kind of just like walks around the apartment very casually, just he's constantly cracking wise and being like, "Oh, this is so stupid. Why are you so worried? You have nothing to worry about." I don't. Why are you just being so scared? I just. This is clearly an empty apartment. Whatever. I'm gonna go and screw my girlfriend now. See you later, Olivia Newton-John. And like immediately after they leave, John Travolta sneaks out of the shadows and says, "Give me your money, you dumb tramp. I hate you. Let me shoot you with a gun. Give me my cash. You can have the Monopoly money back, but I want the cash." And so Olivia Newton-John gives him the cash. Um, but then they like start flirting, which frankly doesn't make any sense. If someone, let's say that you, Babby, are a bank teller,
Of
okay,
course.
and
Naturally.
a hot lady, let's say Sydney Sweeney comes in
Hmm.
with a mask on and says,
Hmm.
"Hey, I'm stealing from you," and points a gun at you.
Hmm.
And then you pull a double cross. And then
Hmm.
she breaks into your place, points the
Hmm.
gun at you again, and then you give the money back.
Hmm.
Would you still poke?
Hmm. I mm, I guess probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah,
I sense more hesitation than I expected.
there's a bit of hesitation.
Really?
I mean, that just that's a transaction, you know. Like I
Oh,
don't know.
so are you saying that like, oh, I'll give you the money, but only if you give me what I want? Is that what you're saying? You're some sort of predator?
No, I'm just like
Oh,
if she walks in and is gonna rob me, like I'm like go for it. I don't care.
okay. But
Like whatever you say.
well, yeah, you give the money, but are you like,
Oh no, I'm done after that. Like
oh,
no, I'm not. Yeah,
you wouldn't like after you give her the money, you wouldn't say like, "Give me your number. I want to go on a date with you."
no, probably not.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That was an experiment that I was doing. I figured that you were
Okay.
going to say that.
Okay.
Yeah, this was all a setup because it makes no sense that Olivia Newton-John falls in love with John Travolta after that. Because why would anyone fall in love with someone that assaulted them and then broke into their house, their home, robbed them again, and then left? It doesn't make any sense. But also, this was the early '80s. Uh, women can't think. I guess is that?
Just be like whatever you say, go. Just get out of my house, though.
Yeah, that's how you talk.
Yeah. In this hypothetical
In
80s
this,
situation,
of course, of course. Uh, hey, Sydney Sweeney. Yeah, I'll give you that cash.
rob me anytime.
Yeah, give me a big smooch. That's what I would say.
Just take my money.
It's like 50K.
Yeah,
At
I don't
that,
got that money.
I don't know. Well, first of all, I can't ever see myself robbing. I can't ever see myself doing that double cross and stealing that much
Mhm.
money from a bank and then just like expecting everything to be fine.
That's kind of impossible to do nowadays.
Yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
a lost art.
Nobody robs banks anymore.
Yeah, it's just 10 times more difficult.
Yeah, we need to bring that back.
Hmm.
That was so sick. Like on the back of a big armored truck, or you
Yeah.
like steal an armored truck and then you break into the bank and you're dressed up in like Mike Myers masks and you're gonna
Hmm.
like shoot up a bunch of people. It's
Yeah,
so
the
sick.
Joker.
Oh yeah, you're Joker from the Joker movie or the Dark Knight Joker movie. The whatever one he robs the bank in. Does he rob a bank in Joker?
I don't think so. I think he's
Yeah,
just sad.
yeah. Does he rob a bank in Joker too?
Um, I mean, it could be a cool musical number, I guess.
Could be. Could be. I still have not seen it. I've heard great things though.
Nothing but good things.
Yes, nothing but good things about Joker 2. It definitely didn't kill like two planned sequels, and uh, it didn't ruin Todd Phillips' reputation as a director at all. It didn't do that, I think. Well, whatever. At this point, you already know what happens. They fall in love, and John Travolta. The weird thing is that there's like another robbery that happens because Olivia Newton-John gets a job as a waitress, and John Travolta's like, "Hey, baby, why don't you like love me?" And she's like, "No, get away, John Travolta. You're ugly, gross. I hate you." And then there's another robber. So like in the span of a week, yeah, because God said it has to happen in a week. The span of a week, this lady has been robbed twice, but this time she's held hostage, and so John Travolta like sneaks behind the hostage guy, and like they get into a kerfuffle, and the hostage guy gets his gun, and then he's going to shoot Olivia Newton-John, and then he does the thing where he dives in front of the bullet. But God was a nice guy and saves John Travolta's life. And it's very touching. Everyone cries. I cried. Um, the neat thing about this is that we actually gave it a standing ovation in the room. It was a great film. We gave it a 7-minute standing ovation. It was like Can
Mm.
for Two of a Kind. Also, the devil is in this movie, and the devil's motivations also make no sense because the devil is on the same side as God, which is odd. It's an odd choice. Usually those two are tussling it out. But the devil's like, "Oh, sweet. God's going to kill everybody? Well, they're all going to go to hell." Even though God told Scatman Crothers that, "Oh, yeah, when I kill all of them, they're just going to come up here and it's just going to be chill." Which honestly, if God is tired and is so sleepy that he doesn't want to deal with people anymore, why is he inviting 7 or 6 billion people to just chill and be loud in his general vicinity? Uh, Again, I don't think God really thought this out, which again is probably not how you want to portray God in a motion picture. But I digress. So the devil's on God's side, and he's like trying to make this flood happen. So he's trying to get in the way of John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John from falling in love. Uh, Except I think he's bank robber at the end. So I guess he came around after he realized that God wouldn't damn 6 million people to hell. And he's like, "Actually, I like having people around. I like being evil and I like torturing people. So, uh, yeah." To me, shouldn't that have been flipped? Why is God the evil one, and why is the devil like? Well, I guess the devil's also trying to be flood the earth. Why are they on the same team? This doesn't make any sense. God and the devil are both the antagonists of this movie, and as a Christian, that makes absolutely no sense. Aren't they supposed to be evil frenemies? Because devil was up there. He was chilling and smooching God, and then he took a slip and fell down, and that now he's downstairs. Uh, so I guess they're evil enemies now. But is I guess I don't really understand the motivations of God or the devil in general, but also in this film. So, um, yeah, this movie is terrible. Everything about it is bad, except for Scatman Crothers. He kind of saves it. At the end, when they get together, Scatman Crothers has the weirdest smile on his face. And I'm not going to say this lightly. It's weirder than the LeBron James Space Jam 2 smile.
That's a high ceiling.
I know. I know. Trust you me, I know. It's like he is like staring, his eyes are wide, but he has like a giant smile on his face. His like mouth is open, and he keeps it there for like 30 seconds. and he doesn't move. Everyone else is like cheering and being like, "Yay, we saved the Earth!" And Scatman Crothers is like petrified and like a blood curdling smile on his face, and it's like, why didn't he do that in The Shining? That would have added to that atmosphere, but instead he saved it for like the time where everyone should be happy. So I guess that does raise it up from half star to 1 star. The Scatman Crothers spooky smile. And kind of feel bad because nobody knows about this movie, so that image is not going to be readily available. People online are going to search Scatman Crothers smile and they're not going to be able to see it, which is a shame. I don't think it's on anything either. My aunt just brought up a DVD copy she had, so I don't know if people can even watch this movie. So sorry. I guess you guys missed out on a smile. But it was the one part of the movie that made me smile and laugh. So I gotta point it out for that. So that's my review of Grease and Two of a Kind. I don't think I did a good job on either of them. Greece, we had a lovely conversation, but we didn't talk about the movie at all. But that's fine. And
Greece deserves.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know if Greece deserves to completely be forgotten, but I think it's sitting pretty where it is right now. It's like one of those things where people think that they remember. So I think that's correct because it's a weird movie. So that's that. I'm going to pass it to Babby now for his segment of the show, Playboy Cardi Music.
I'm gonna catch it because I'm a sports guy.
Yeah,
Um,
dribble.
dribble.
Don't
I like where
forget.
this metaphor is going. Um, we got a good array of stuff, I guess, this week. Um, guess we'll just do some news slash announcements,
Oh,
or just stuff that's coming soon. Ethel Kane announced a new album, her
another
second,
one?
another one. Well, the other thing that came out was an EP.
Oh.
This is the album. Um, it is called Willoughby Tucker. I Will Always Love You. It comes out August 2025.
Oh.
Um, I really like Preacher's Daughter, but I did not get into the lore of anything. So apparently, this is like it's like a prequel to that story that's in prequel or Preacher's Daughter. I'm not caught up on the lore. Maybe I'll get into it. I don't know. The music sounds good. When it comes to like characters and albums and things, I don't do that kind of stuff usually. Um, unless it's Kendrick where he is the character,
Yeah.
because that's very different. Um, but I'm very excited. I think it's going to be fantastic. We don't really have any other information at this point. She just announced a tour and all that kind of stuff. So, but it is coming out. So we'll have an Ethel Kane album this year. The EP was fantastic. So I have nothing but high hopes for this. I think it'll be nothing like the EP at all. So, um, which it would surprise me if it was similar in any way. But yeah, very excited. Um, I think that was the like big announcement this week. I don't know if there's anything else that was too crazy in terms of announcements, but a lot of stuff coming out as of recording tomorrow. So next podcast is gonna be pretty loaded,
Oh.
um, or stacked. Apparently, this Yasin Bey and Alchemist album is supposed to come out tomorrow, but I haven't heard anything since they announced it like a month and a half ago. So
Oh.
I don't know if this is true or not. Um, so I don't really know. But we'll see come 24 hours from now. I think it's a Bandcamp only thing, so
Oh.
which is fine. So I'll probably grab it there if it does exist, and we can talk about whatever that's going to be. We also have the new spelling record coming out, Portrait of My Heart. Very excited for that. Um,
Hmm.
so that's coming. We got the new Lucy, of course, doing that on the channel this week, so you
Of
will get that
course.
soon. I'm so excited for this one. I think just she's been doing her press tours, so just reading about what the album is about and stuff, I'm very intrigued.
Hmm.
I think this will be good. Backwash that comes out tomorrow as well, which is crazy. This crept up on me big time. I thought this was coming out in April, But very excited for this. The two singles are phenomenal. I think Ninth Heaven is one of my favorite tracks this year so far. Um, so very excited for that as well. I'm curious to see what she's doing for the whole project, considering she's kind of taken a leap of faith into a different genre with this one. Um, yeah. So stacked week next week. We have a lot to talk about. In terms of this week, we got the new Japanese breakfast album for melancholy brunettes and sad women.
Mm.
I have not listened to this yet because it is for melancholy brunettes and sad women,
Oh,
which I guess I don't really fall into any of those categories. Besides the melancholy and sad, but those are just the adjectives. Those aren't the subjects. I'll get to this soon, probably. I just did not get to it yet. But Jubilee is great, so I'm sure this is pretty good as well. Seems like people are digging it. Um, I'm interested to see what Jeff Bridges does on his feature.
Jeff
So
Bridges is on it.
yeah,
The dude.
I'm the dude. I'm wondering if it's just literally a sample from like that, or if I don't know. I'm
Jeff
not sure.
Bridges is a musician.
Yeah, I suppose he is.
He has music.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a
We'll see.
Springsteen esque. That's what I would guess.
Yeah, and in his details, it says country rock, but it also has like ambient spoken word and field recordings. So maybe he's getting a little bit crazy with it.
Oh,
Um, but I don't know. Yeah, but I'll check that out. We also got the new final Black Country New Road single before the new album, for the Cold Country, 6.5 minutes long. I did not listen to it because I'm holding it.
it's a good album
So
cover.
it's very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
All the art for this album has been just phenomenal. It's all so cool. Um, but yeah, I think I'm gonna buy the record at the concert because the actual vinyl has a like fake oil painting texture on it, which is really cool.
Oh,
So I'll be picking up one of those at the concert. Uh, but yeah, very excited for that album. That comes out on the 4th, so we got over 2 weeks away. Uh, Getting there. All right. Stuff that did come out this week that I listened to. We got two things, and then two things that did not come out this week that I listened to. So we got four albums.
oh,
We'll start with Prem Rock. New album. Did you enjoy your time here? Backwoods release. This is his biggest release in terms of, I think, budget and scope and artists and features and producers and all these different things. Seems like a very mainline release, which is good because I think the last thing he did was Through Lines, which was an EP that came out last year, which was just a small little kind of underground EP. Not a lot of promo behind it, kind of just surprise dropped. But Shrapnel had a pretty good record that came out last year as well with Controller 7. But I think I like this album more. This is really good. It kind of surpassed my expectations, and I had some pretty decent expectations for it, looking at the track list and everything. But he seems very locked in and focused, and he's really heightened himself in every single aspect. I think he does really great with Curly Castro as a duo in Shrapnel, but like he also holds his own as a solo artist very well, which I think can be difficult. But his writing style is fantastic. His flows are always interesting. He's able to just kind of do acrobatics around tracks that just make it very interesting to listen to without it being like lyrical miracle or anything. It just is super smooth, um, and doesn't fall into the pitfalls that a lot of white rappers specifically do, but also just like people that try to make conscious hip hop without anything to say. I think he genuinely has a lot to say on this album, and the lyrics just show that very well. The instrumentals are fantastic. Like everything is so well made here. They're really fun. They feel like the big budget Backwood Studios released productions where like these beats are having these fantastic like progressions as tracks go on. There's such a wide variety of things that are going on here. Um, California Silver's beats is fantastic, and all the features are just great here too. Cavalier on Good Man is Hard to Find is fantastic. That Elucid beat on there is crazy. I love when Elucid kind of gets a production credit because he goes off the wall with his beats as you would kind of expect from him. Ames True with AJ Suede and Curly Castro is fantastic. I love the subject matter on that song, and the beat is crazy as well. Um, Receipts with Billy Woods is fantastic. Controller 7 has like a piano led beat here that is just amazing. Very introspective track. Uh, Kind of more of like a singer, not a singer songwriter, but it's very more like song written instead of rap written track, which I just really enjoyed. And Billy Woods' feature is fantastic. Um, yeah, this album is really, really, really great. Also, Mary Esther Carter's chorus on "Love Is a Battlefield Simulation" is amazing. Um, Everybody's just bringing their A game here, which is great. I'm glad that like we're seeing success in this label because of you know there's a lot more eyes kind of coming to it with every release. So this one will still be completely underrated, but everybody should check it out if you're into hip hop because it is great and it will fall under the radar for 90% of people, which is not right. Um, this currently has 39 user ratings on Album of the Year. That's not even reviews, that's just ratings. Um, so if you're into Billy Woods or anyone in this camp, you should not be missing out on this album because it is fantastic. I'm so glad they kind of put the budget and the trust behind him to really make like a work of art here. The oil painting kind of album cover does speak to how he's kind of diving into things just like with art and the feelings around it and all these different like uh, sections of it that like inspire him and things and just like he makes so many references and lyrics to like mixing and mastering and producing and like mixing that with like real life things and it's a very interesting blend of topics. So I think it's fantastic. All the producers killed it. These instrumentals are great. I do kind of hope they release an instrumental vinyl with this one. I know they do that with some of their releases. I think just having an instrumental vinyl of this would be fantastic as well. But I'll probably just pick up the record of this one. So very impressive. Yeah, even seeing him live, he's just as good live with breath control and just he's got such a cool, calm demeanor to his rapping, which is it hits a really nice nerve. So it's very, very, very good. Yeah, it criminally underrated and probably will be for a while. So I will just sing its praises. So do not miss it. All right. Next, we're going to talk about Parannoul's new alter ego side project. I don't know what the intention with this was, but the group is Heremic. We'll go with Heremic. Um, with the surprise drop, Seeking Darkness album. This is only on Bandcamp again, so I downloaded it from there and gave it a listen. It is an hour long and it is a 5 part kind of movement, which do kind of break out into separate songs, so it's not completely one continuous thing. Um, he kind of takes the shift from mainly being a shoegaze, more like with like a slight emo undertone, but he kind of goes full post rock and noise rock here, which I think works in some parts and doesn't in others. I'm very conflicted about this album. Album of the year goes crazy for this guy. I still don't really understand why. Like the music is good, but every time he releases something, it immediately jumps to like number one of the year, and I don't really know
Oh,
why that happens. And then it always falls like after that. So I don't know if there's just like the fan base has kind of become a monolith in that way. Um, but I have listened to like 4 of his records. All of them are very like their degrees are pretty good. I still think the To See the Next Part of the Dream is like by far the best thing that he's done. That was the most original, most fun uh, thing I've heard so far. Everything else kind of blends into that, honestly, but like doesn't hit the kind of highs that that thing does. I do think after the Night the Live album, that's really good. That's like an hour and a half kind of Fishman's live esque album. That does work really well. Um, but this new one here, I a lot of people are going crazy for it. It's number one in the year, which I don't. I think it'll drop like for sure. Um, it's okay in terms of like post rock and things. I think it's missing the lifeblood of post rock, in my opinion. Um, this is another moment where I just feel old, which is weird because I shouldn't be feeling old in a music realm because I'm young in a music realm.
yeah.
But I think there's a underclass of Zoomers under us at this point now coming up where they see these kind of genre labels and they go crazy over them. I don't get a lot of like the post rock magic with this album that I think I should be getting. Um, Post rock can be a very nerdy genre, and a lot of the people that are very into it can be considered music nerds. But it's what genre that emotion and feeling drives it as much as classical music does. So when you kind of rip it from that emotional base, it kind of feels like probably how you feel when you listen to uh, a more long form like drone song or post rock song, where you're
Sure.
kind of just like, this is noise. this is cool, but like that's it. That's what I get with this album. The For once, like he's Korean, so like obviously any lyrics are not gonna hit at all. But I'm not getting the movements and the loud, quiet dynamics, the great crescendos, the cool rhythm passages that I come to expect when I come to post rock for things. I don't really get that here. It is noised out of its mind, which there is a place for that. I do love me some good noise rock, and there are some very, very good noise rock sections here. I think the second track and the fourth track have some really nice sections there, but there's not that there's not a wave of feeling, emotion, volume, intensity here that I would like to see when it comes to post rock. I think the noise elements of it kind of start blurring the lines until you have a I don't want to say overcompressed, but if you're thinking of wavelengths, like everything is loud. Um, there are moments where it glides down. I think part three has a kind of acoustic movement for about 6 or 7 minutes that is kind of cool, and then builds into something greater, which does work. But yeah, I think like technically and everything, it is pretty well made. There's a lot of influence from Boris on this one, which is not the first band I think of when I think of post rock. They are not really a post rock band in my opinion. I think they just follow more into that more drony, almost like doom metal, stoner metal area. But like a lot of influence from Flood, and I don't think this album even touches Flood. Flood works so much better in my opinion than this album does. Um, but there's a lot of that in here, which makes sense. Uh, I don't know. It's something where I should love it and be head over heels, but I think it is missing some crucial parts of the genre that it is taking from. And I think this is kind of a side project for him, so it's not like it's a huge thing. It's a surprise album. I think all of his stuff is still pretty quality, but like none of it hits me emotionally. So I usually go for the shoegazy, like give me some crazy sounding chunky guitars and stuff. I don't know if the post rock thing is really what I'm kind of coming to him for. And it just doesn't work at all for me when it comes to the emotive side of it. There's some cool moments, but I don't think I would listen to this again just because like if I'm committing to a 1 hour thing that is mostly a movement based off of post rock standards, I want to like go through a journal like a journey to get there, and this one isn't really like that. I'm kind of just like looking at the track length, which is the last thing you should be doing when you're listening to an album like this. So um, with that being said, like it's solid. I think people that are into this genre should still check it out. You might get a lot more out of it than I will. Um, but it was interesting. I was like not the biggest fan of it, so um, yeah. Luckily, we got two post rock albums to kind of counterbalance that this week.
Hmm.
So um, let's start with Natural Snow Buildings. I listened to this one just on a whim, I think on Sunday night. I don't know why I decided to like, this is the one I'm doing. It's been on my list for a while. I listened to the Dance of is it the Moon and the Sun or Sun and the Moon? It is the Moon and the Sun. I listened to that one last year, like later in the year. Um, that is more of a drone folky psychedelic folk album, which is really cool. Um, it's 2.5 hours as well. They love making 2.5 hour albums. Um, that one came out in 2006. The Winter Ray, which we're talking about today, came out in 2004. And this is a post rock album, a lot more than Dance with the Moon and the Sun. I think that one is definitely takes drone and folk more of a as more of like a standout for that one. So this one is definitely more of what I come to expect for with post rock. It is moody, it is drawn out, it is gorgeous. The loud and the quiet works very very well. Um, they get very political with this one too because they don't really touch on that in the Dance of the Moon and the Sun. These albums feel completely different, which is great from a band that prioritizes in drone music because oftentimes drone is kind of you see what you get, but having completely different statements between two albums and two completely different feels is fantastic. um, they're so distinct from each other but still kind of fit into the obviously this being the same group, but they give you very different experiences. The Dance of the Moon and Sun feels like a very wintry, almost nature focused, melancholy album. This is kind of post-apocalyptic, very Godspeed-esque post-rock experience. Feels kind of like something that came from Skinny Fist and F sharp A sharp kind of slammed together. But that's not to say that it's ripping off Godspeed at all, because I think they have their very own lane here. Um, it's really, really fantastic. I've listened to it through twice, so that's like 5 hours. I need to listen to it more to get like a solid grasp on everything here. Um, but it's a double album, 14 tracks on one side, 11 tracks on the other. The cool thing about this is like the first 6 songs are all one gigantic song, so that's like a 25-minute thing. Then we have like a little bit of a break with a 2.5 minute song, and then it launches into like another long movement that takes up about 5 tracks, and it's about like 20 minutes. It works very well, all the transitions and things. Um, the overture into I don't know what Cywar is just phenomenal. It's so angsty and the tension is just so palpable. So it's very uneasy at the beginning, which is just great. Kind of putting in this like post-apocalyptic kind of future, but kind of present at the same time. Kind of blurs the lines there, which I really enjoy. Um, there's like a vocal sample that comes in on I don't know what Cywar is near the end, and it like both times I've listened to it, I got psyched out because I thought someone was talking to me like in the room because the way it is mixed is like so clever. It scared me genuinely both times. It's great. But yeah, we mix in a lot of like radio broadcast samples and different sound collage things. So it is very early Godspeed in that way. Um, but the just the timbre and like the dissonance and all these drones and things are just fantastic. They have such a good grasp on that. Um, and it is a pretty dreadful album in terms of like how it makes you feel during it. Like there's moments of like fantastic beauty that you get, but like the sense of dread you get with a lot of these tracks, especially like places of detention and towards a psycho civilized society. They're heavy, and I just love them. Um, Falling Space Laser and Nikola Tesla, fantastic. More of a piano led one that just works really, really well. I think Dead Horses is a huge standout. This is just a fantastic post rock song, kind of textbook the way you want it. Again, just like the texture and everything they're getting from these, like they do drones so incredibly well, um, and just is just endlessly interesting. So, yeah, this thing is fantastic. It's long and not easy to get into at all, but it's very rewarding. Um, I think I don't know, between this and the Dance of the Moon and the Sun, I think they're equal for me. They're two opposite albums, but they are both very 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 good. Um, Dance of the Moon and the Sun I come to for a very different reason. It is a lot more warm in the terms of like it deals with nature and those kind of elements. At least that's kind of the feeling I get from a lot of that stuff. A little bit of like mystical kind of feelings with that too. And then this one is pure post rock, uh, not doomerism, but very dark, political, close to home. You will feel things with this one, which I really enjoy as well. So even the cover is similar to like the F sharp A sharp, where there's a different little Polaroid picture depending on where you view the album.
Hmm.
Um, so very very good. I think they're French or French Canadian. I don't know which one, but French Canadians, if they are, they know their way around these kind of post-apocalyptic spiritual post-rock epics. So
Sure.
um, they do very very good. So the next one that I would have to get into after this probably, I can't really get around it, I don't think at this point, is Daughter of Darkness. That album is 7.5 hours long.
Whoa.
So I that's going to be split up into multiple days or
Yeah.
weeks. Um, just the first side, the first song is 14 minutes, the second song is 29 minutes, the third song is 26 minutes. Yeah. There's a 46-minute track in here. Yeah. We'll get to it. But that's going to be an interesting experience. I don't know if anybody I don't know. I could lock in and just do it during an entire work day if I have like a day where I have 0 meetings I have to go to, and I could lock in for the whole 7.5, but I don't know. I'll figure out how to do that. But that's kind of the next piece of the puzzle, I think, when it comes to this group. Um, but nothing but greatness that I've heard so far from them, which is good. Um, so yeah. Uh, Another post rock adjacent album that I listened to this week. I was just kind of in this lane this week, I guess. This was another on the whim one that like I'm like it was saved in my albums libraries for a long time and I just never got to it. Um, this is Mark Hollis's self-titled. Mark Hollis is the was the lead singer of Talk Talk. Um, this is his last album, his first and last album in terms of solo albums. Um, this came out in 1998, which is 7 years after Laughing Stock and the dissolution of Talk Talk as a band.
Mm.
Um, and this is his last kind of musical anything to like that he put out, which is interesting because I thought he like died after this, but he lived until 2019. Um,
Oh,
so this is a rare case of an artist like literally like this is my last thing. I'm done. Bye. Nothing else after this.
I like that.
Which kind of knowing the story of him and Talk Talk like makes complete sense for what it is. Talk Talk starting as a synth pop new wave band in the 80s and like kind of finding success in radio play on that, and then slowly shifting into the opposite of that, kind of birthing post rock as we know it, putting in jazz and chamber and ambient music into it, and just completely reinventing themselves. Like I think greater than any artist has really done. Releasing two of the like most uh, talked about. I don't want to say talked about, but like in terms of left turns, pretty shocking albums of all time, and then just kind of like ending the group after that. Um, Taking 7 years, doing your last little musical number and then dipping forever. Um, there's a there's an honor in that. I think like you're putting out your best stuff and you're not giving you anything that isn't that standard. Um, I really enjoy it. I think him as a person and as an artist is like endlessly interesting. There's he's one of those musicians where it's like he might be one of the best musicians of all time, but you don't really often hear his name brought up or anything about it. It's more of a if you know you know kind of situation. Um, it's just a really rare kind of human being in general, where it's like despises the music industry, despises all of that, and doesn't just say he despises it, kind of really backs it up. When they find major success with synth pop, they take the money and kind of run into the studio and craft what they want to make with no strings attached and completely kind of alienate themselves from the label. Um, and that's what where true artistry lies, and it shows on those albums. Um, this kind of takes the blueprint of Laughing Stock and kind of exemplifies it more. Surprisingly, it's even more quiet, more sparse, more jazzy. Um, it takes all of those like weird qualities that that album has and just kind of amplifies it, and it works so well. I don't think this album like it's not quite at the level of Spirit of Eden or Laughing Stock, but it gets pretty close. I think if you're big fans of those albums, this is a much needed kind of listen. I'm kind of like hurting myself for like not checking this out sooner, but I think my as I listen to Spirit of Eden and Laughing Stock more and more, I've been listening to them for I think 2 or 3 years at this point. They get better and better and better and better. I think Laughing Stock might be the best album ever made. Um, and I think what he does here as a it's a singer songwriter album at its core, but those elements start to sprinkle their way in. The opener Color of Spring is so stripped back. It is just him, with a very it's an amazing piano riff, but it's so simple. But then you get to Watershed and you start hearing the jazz drums come in and you hear the horns come back in. You get those like glimmers that you got in Laughing Stock, but it's a little bit more disconnected. It's more dissonant. The silence is not used in an album better than it is in with when Mark Hollis is like behind the reins. Like silence is a very, very, very important thing in music, and I don't think people know how to really use it. Um, the quiet, loud part of post rock, I think they pioneered it the best, and I don't think there's a group that has done it better than them since that. Um, they know a way around that where like you immediately are in an atmosphere where it's like I feel like I'm in a studio with them in a dark room and there's nothing but just those sounds kind of reverberating off the walls. When the noise hits, the instruments come in, you feel the entire range of all the vibrations and things it's making because you are used to the there's no compression, there's no nothing. You're stuck with silence or you're stuck with these slow gradual builds. I think in terms of like dynamic range, there's nobody that does it better at all. Um, But Watershed is really fantastic. It's jazzy. It's great. The drum lines here are just so good. Still, the jazz drumming is just fantastic. Inside Looking Out is also great. Um, it's just a lot of those same kind of elements, but a little bit more skeletal. You never really know what's behind the next corner because it is a singer songwriter album. But those little hits of like guitar lines, there's an acoustic and electric one kind of working together in tandem. It's gorgeous. I think this is a it's an album where it's like it's gonna polarize you if you haven't really heard the latest Talk Talk ones and if you're not really into those ones because this kind of turns the dial up to where it's even less accessible. Um, Even the way he uses his vocals has dynamic range to it. He goes from a whisper to a full kind of throated crescendo all within the same line sometimes and you get the entire range there. I think in terms of like I hate the word audiophile, but like in terms of audiophile systems and records, you get your money's worth with stuff like this. If you play this on a fantastic audio system, it's just going to be like flying colors constantly. Um, I think A Life 1895 to 1915 is amazing. That's kind of the grand shining moment of the album in terms of just scale. Get the entire slew of like this kind of this upward bass plucking. You have the acoustic electric guitars going. The jazz drumming is fantastic. Westward Bound is like a personal favorite. It's a very kind of singer songwriter guitar led track, but again, it's just so talk at the end of the day. It just works so incredibly well. I think it is a headphone album in that because you can't really understand what he's saying unless you have headphones in because he goes so quiet at some parts of these. Um, but this is just like it's a phenomenal send off. Just to be like, this is my last album. I'm gone. Bye. And it's not. It doesn't go out with a bang. It's a very kind of quiet, somber way out. But again, there's an honor in that. It's a here's the music I've offered the world. I'm not going to do anything else because I don't feel like it's worth you know making any more statements publicly after that. Which I mean, that's cool. Like music is my profession, and that's what I did. But now I'm focusing on my family, and I'm gonna take all the money I did from uh, succeeding as a synth pop artist in the '80s and just kind of chill out with that. And I love that. Um, yeah, it's fantastic. I part of me always like I want more. I need more. But honestly, like between this album, Laughing Stock, and Spirit of Eden, you have almost a perfect trilogy of albums. I'll throw The Color of Spring in there too. That album is also fantastic, blending art pop with kind of this emerging post rock kind of buried underneath it. All of them are fantastic. I still haven't listened to I haven't listened to Is My Life or The Party's Over yet. I don't know if I will. I don't know if I need to hear them in their full synth pop ways. I've heard It's My Life, obviously. Most people have and they don't know it. Um, it's a good song. Like it's in terms of like 80s pop, it's pretty great. I think I just adore his voice so much where I'm just like, this works so well. But I don't know if I need to go back and visit those records really. I don't know if I'm gonna get much out of it. I know the lore, I understand the progression. You can hear it in It's My Life very vaguely if you like know the history of what comes after it. Um, but yeah, what a discography, what a human, what a musician. Endless things I could go on about with this kind of stuff. But yeah, I think it just solidifies my love for those three records and continuing to grow. Like every time I listen, it's better and better and better and better. For an album that I've already like praised as maybe my favorite like best album of all time, like it for it to still get better after I've heard it dozens of times, it's that kind of magical thing that you kind of look for, um, which is weird because these were albums that I checked out during my initial post rock journey like 2 or 3 years ago, and they were more like I needed to do these because they're the birthstone, and then I kind of go on to the flashy Godspeed and Swan stuff. But I think Laughing Stock might just surpass all of those in terms of everything. It's just one that you kind of have to live with for a while.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, fantastic. It's amazing. So if you're into Talk Talk or any of the stuff like that, check out the Mark Hollis self-titled because it is something you should not miss. I think I got like a bit of closure out of it just because it does feel like a final statement in that term. Um, as much as Laughing Stock kind of did do that for Talk Talk as a group, but it doesn't really end with a conclusive finish. It's that album really does kind of just let you down almost too easy. The last song on that is so quiet and chill. Um, but yeah, fantastic. A lot of good array of post rock this week. A lot of different vibes going on. But yeah, other than that, I'm still jamming Shore because Shore is great. It's fantastic. The vibes in my headphones have just been great. In terms of just the instrumental palettes I've been getting. Besides Dead Channel Sky, that clipping album is quite the opposite, but it's still very good. Um, but yeah, that's all I got this week. Next week we'll have a ton of new releases, so I probably won't listen to anything outside of those, unless I'm feeling crazy.
Go crazy. Why don't you?
Okay.
You didn't talk about the single that came out today, Little Sims.
Oh yeah, I forgot you released one.
I
I'm just
have,
gonna wait for the album to come out.
yeah, I didn't listen to it. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna wait. It
Although
has no
there's Little Sims
features.
drama we haven't touched on.
Drama?
Yeah, she's suing Inflow, which Inflow was her producer that did all of Simbi and most of
No,
whatever
thank
the other
you.
one is. No, thank you. I was gonna say thank you next, but I'm like, that's not it.
Uh,
Um, yeah, apparently there was some money issues. Like she loaned him
oh,
money and he didn't pay her back. It was like $2 million.
oh,
Um, so
wow.
that's a sticky wicket. Sorry, I have to do British humor.
That is a sticky
Um,
wicket.
yeah, They're- that's not good. They have like amazing chemistry together, so that's a big kind of like I can't imagine there's gonna be too much collaboration after that.
No.
Um, unless it's like you forced my hand to do this because I gave you $2 million and you're not giving me any money back. Like that, I understand that. If it was like a real loan, which it seems like it was, so hopefully that gets figured out. I don't know what the producer and like I don't know what production's looking like on Lotus.
So far, the two singles have the same producer, Miles
Okay,
Clinton James.
Miles James, interesting. I'm seeing DJ Dahi is credited on here as well, which is interesting.
Hmm.
Um, which big Kendrick. I don't want to say in-house producer, but lots of stuff with him. Um,
Hmm.
so it'll be interesting.
Interesting.
I will say, based off the first single, it does sound very different than the traditional Little Sims album,
Yes.
production-wise. The mixing is not nearly as good. I think it's a little bit sloppier on the edges. It's still really good, but like it doesn't have the warmth of Simbi. Like the
No.
production on that album is above most hip hop albums in general.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know about the big drama.
Hmm.
Oh
So
no.
that'll be interesting.
I don't want drama.
Me neither.
Can't we all just get along?
Can't we all just get along?
What did I say that to? I said that
Um,
the other day, and you were like, as a
you did.
history person, I you can't say that or
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah. I think that was like last Wednesday. I
That
don't
was
remember what
last
we were
Wednesday.
talking about.
Okay, so it wasn't on this show.
I don't think it was. Maybe it
Okay,
was. I don't know. We get crazy.
we do get crazy. The last couple of weeks, we've been getting extra crazy,
Yeah, we
saying
toned it down a
things
little bit.
that have gotten us in hot water. Someone's gonna sue
Hmm.
us for $2 million.
I don't got it, so
Yeah,
I don't even
yeah.
got $2.
I barely have enough, just in
Like
general.
my mouse scroll wheel decided to like die halfway through this segment, so I'm gonna have
Oh,
like -$2 now.
nice. It just died.
Rest in peace.
Just fell
Like
off.
I can still click it, but the scroller seems to have fallen off of the track, so it's just
Oh,
spinning freely.
oh, that's
Which this
not
thing's like
good.
5 years old, so maybe it's time to get a new one. But
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Well, yeah, you have
rip.
-$2.
Yep.
I think I'm floating
Send
around
me money.
150.
Hmm.
$1.50, not
Okay.
$150. I just wanted to make that clear. I'm not that rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just waiting
This
for
is
the
why
day that we
bank
can
robbing
cash
needs to come
out.
back. Exactly.
I want an AI to reach out to say, please sponsor us. We are an AI company. And I will say, yes, please. I love AI so much.
Hmm.
Because I have no ethical qualms with that. because I
I think
need
it'd bring an
cash.
interesting dynamic to the show when like our main thing is like talking about like art at its like truest without any of this garbage put in.
Yeah.
And then it's like, this episode is sponsored by OpenAI. That'd be fun.
That would be really awesome. I think people would respond positively to that too.
Yeah.
I like that we are saying this as like a new wave of Studio Ghibli AI stuff has been going around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That White House post made me want to jump off a bridge.
there's a White House Ghibli thing.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Don't look at that.
The White House did a Ghibli.
Yeah, they did.
Hold on, everybody. This is going to be a live reaction. Is this on X, the Everything app?
It's on X, the Everything app.
Oh, okay, awesome. That's one of my favorite apps.
Yeah.
They post a lot.
Yeah. I don't know who the social person is, but they should be. I can't say that on the podcast, actually. Um, I hope they
Oh,
get fired.
oh,
Yeah.
oh.
It's one of the worst things I've ever seen.
That's really bad.
It's yeah.
Wow.
This is where we're at.
Can't believe the White House tweeted that.
They've been going on a tirade. Like that's the worst one so far, but there's been a lot of bad ones.
Wow. I can't believe someone thought that was a good idea.
They made like an ASMR video of like detaining people, so like handcuff sounds and like uh putting them on the deportation planes, and I'm like, they're yeah.
What the heck? What is going on? I don't really like talking about politics in general, but uh things are fucked.
I do, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not doomerin, but I'm not. I can't do it every week because I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. I did start working on my memoir.
Exact. That's good. That's good.
Yeah. You think that's a
The
good idea?
Diary of Jerry Kinkleton.
I'm calling it Suicidal at the End of the World.
Ooh, that's sick.
I Googled that and I couldn't find anything because all I got was the suicide hotline.
Yeah, that's good for SEO then.
It's
You get a
pretty,
lot of clicks with that.
I guess so.
A lot of book sales.
How the frick do you name something that, like, can you find anything that has suicide in the title?
I don't know.
I can't think of like a movie or a book or
I
anything
feel
that
like
has
that was
suicide
a
in the
very
title.
90s things to have because there was a band named Suicide. But I feel like Suicide
Oh,
was a like a hot button kind of like punk thing in the 90s.
it's
I
a
don't know if
cool
anyone would try
word.
to do that nowadays because like one, your SEO is gonna be horrible, and two, you're gonna get canceled by like uh everyone for
Oh,
before you even start. So
for saying the word.
no, but it'll probably be like sweetie, this is problematic.
What about the
You're supposed
Suicide
to say
Boys?
you're supposed to say unalived. Oh yeah,
What?
there's Suicide Boys, isn't there?
Yeah. I said that and then I like searched suicide or I like typed in suicide and
Mhm.
Suicide Squad came up.
Oh yeah,
I'm
Suicide
like,
Squad.
oh yeah.
Mhm.
I guess that was a
I
really
guess
big
there's still
movie.
some remnants. Yeah,
There's still some. Suicide's a sick word. We should bring it back.
it is.
Remember getting all the sodas in the soda pop fountain and calling that a suicide?
No.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Wait, is that just an Iowa thing?
I haven't heard of it.
Really?
No.
Oh, I thought that was way more of a universal thing. If you go to like a McDonald's and you get a little bit of every single soda, you call that a suicide.
Interesting.
Now I need to see. I'm gonna Google suicide drink. Of course, I'm just getting the no, not
Yeah, exactly.
this is terrible. How to cut down on drinking without quitting? What are the advice? I don't need advice. I'm trying to figure out.
Mhm.
This is all just like
You
stop
should stop
drinking or
drinking
else you're gonna
soda,
kill
also don't
yourself.
kill yourself. Yeah.
I don't need this advice. I was trying to figure out. Okay, so I guess it's not a well-known thing. Uh, soda, suicide soda. Okay, Okay,
Did you find it?
I'm seeing
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
Okay. Uh suicides. The first thing that comes on is from Reddit, which is not a great source. But
Most credible source.
some people in the comments are also saying that they call them graveyards,
Okay, still never heard that.
swamp water.
Interesting.
No. Okay.
No.
Uh yeah. Well, those are the only other things I'm hearing.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what we called it. It was called a suicide. And that was like a go-to drink for me.
Mm,
I'm not proud to say that.
we're a little freak.
As a child, yeah. It was like every single time I went and got a drink, it was a little bit of everything. Like a
Yeah, I don't
Dawes
know how you do that because
song.
like I felt horrible after just having like the high C orange.
Oh, I don't remember. Maybe I should try that again sometime and see how
It
it
still
tastes.
bangs, but it's just like you
Icy
can tell
orange.
how you can taste how fake and like
Oh yeah.
radiant orange it is, but like it bangs.
Yeah. It tastes like melted plastic or something.
Yeah, but it's so good.
Oh yeah. Icy orange is awesome. They need to bring it back, but like real. Like, cause have you ever seen like the high C orange in Europe and it just looks like orange juice?
Yeah, all the orange stuff like Fanta and everything because they don't have the red 40 to put in it or the red 5 or whatever they put in the orange ones.
Or yellow
Yellow
38.
30 something.
I don't know. I don't know, but I just found out that this is not a well-known thing. Calling suicide sodas that. In
Really
fact,
makes you think.
the fourth response or the fourth result is from the National Institute of Health, and it's a study about the consumption of carbonated soft drinks and suicide attempts among the
Oh,
adolescents.
good thesis.
It's an interesting uh thing. How do you even test that?
I
Everybody
don't know.
drinks soda at some point. I don't really drink soda, but like I'll have a root beer
Yeah,
from
I've kind of
Culver's.
passed it.
I'm more of a tea guy, but I do like having a Sprecher every now and then.
Sprecher does bang.
Sprecher
We got
bangs.
we got a freaking not a soda stream because that's BDS, but Ninja drink one where you can make your own carbonated water and soda stuff.
Oh, is wait, you got ninjas thing?
It's a Ninja, no, like Ninja the culinary
Oh,
company, not Ninja
oh,
the mixer stream,
okay. I thought, yeah, you
former
were
mixer
talking
stream.
about the streamer. Like, you
Yeah,
got a ninja branded thing?
yeah, I love Ninja.
Yeah. So oh, okay. So you got like a carbonator thing.
Yeah, so you can just make your own sodas. They're
Oh.
not nearly as bad for you because it's
Well,
just
yeah.
a little like Mio looking packet thing.
Oh, so it's like you're making it.
Yeah,
Oh. That's probably a good call.
just don't buy Soda Stream.
What is Soda Stream?
It's it's the same thing, but it's
But
Israeli.
oh, it's Israeli.
It's like it's like in the top 5 of the BDS list. I don't know why they go so hard on Soda Stream. It used to be a big thing, I guess.
Oh. Oh, I've seen these. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always wondering why on the back it said Baruch Taha, but now that makes sense. Huh.
They're like you could tell because like the when that was like the height of it last year, you'd walk into Target and they'd be like so many end caps of Soda Stream, like 50% off, and people still weren't buying them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think here's the weird thing. This is actually me getting old. Bubbles like fuck me up now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think like because I was like big into soda when I was a kid. And then like once I kind of got into college, I was a big fruit juice guy
Hmm.
because at the college dining centers they always had a juice thing, and I was like, "Give me the juice." Uh, and now I'm a tea guy, and so I haven't had like carbonated things really in like 5 years.
Hmm.
So now when I get stuff, it like really messes with my tummy actually. So
I feel like sparkling water is fine, but like when you add like all the freaking syrup and stuff like a Mountain Dew, like that'll kill
Yeah.
me.
Oh yeah. No, I would never. I can't. I can't. Ugh. Don't even get me started on a beer. If I like drink one beer and my stomach is feeling like some sort of way, I'm like
Not
out of
drinking a
commission for
beer.
like 20 minutes. I have to like lay down and elevate my feet. Like, oh geez. Uh so yeah, I don't drink anymore. Except for wine. I'm a big
Me too,
wine
actually.
guy.
I've been getting into it.
Wine, pretty
Mhm.
bad most of the time, but it gets you drunk, and I like that. And I like getting drunk as much as possible
I don't
because
like
it's too
that, but
much to bear.
I just enjoy a little bit of a ooh every time you take a sip. You're like, ooh, that's nice. It's my white woman coming out.
Yeah, I do like the wine. A wine I like is the Manischewitz wine. The
Hmm.
four, I think it's like four synagogues to do some sort of ceremony with, but it slaps hard. It's like Concord grape, and it's really sweet.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very nice. So if you can get your hands on Manischewitz wine, this
Okay.
is a glowing endorsement. I don't know if they have any ties to Israel.
Usually she just like brings wine home and then I drink it. So I
That's
don't really have a
fair.
say.
That is
I'm like a
fair.
guinea pig. You just put like wine in my little like cage and I'm good.
Yeah. I actually here's something that I thought was really weird because I was drinking this wine and like the next day I listened to the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill and
Hmm.
she brings up I'm like sipping on Manischewitz or something. I forget the exact line, but she brings it up. And I'm like, what? This is like a thing? I didn't know that people knew about this. But apparently it's been around since 1888. So,
Interesting.
and
It's
it's,
kind of the same thing with the devil's lettuce. If
oh,
you're not like in the know, a lot
that's
of
true.
rap lyrics are just like what are they talking about? And
That's
then
true.
like it's completely different if you even know like a little bit.
Yeah, I always thought that drop it like it's hot was referring to a hot frying pan that I picked up without my oven mitt. That's what I thought as a kid.
Which is true.
It is true because Snoop Dogg's a big baker
Hmm.
and he
I
likes
can tell
fried
at the
eggs.
store. Yeah, he likes most things fried, like his
Including
brain
himself.
particularly. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Okay,
that's
bye.
all